law that governs the program. There's also rules and regulation that we call Title V. And the law set up the division where John and I work. It's called the Division of Minority and Women's Business Development. We are charged with running this program to ensure that state agencies and authorities and organizations that receive funding proactively meet the goal, the stated goal of 30%. And we are also here to help encourage businesses that are owned by a minority person or women to pursue this certification process. What are the benefits? People say, why should I get certified? It's a lot of work and a lot of paperwork. Well, the benefit of being certified is that this program is set up to provide guidance along the way once you are certified. And you will be accessing a network of other minority women-owned businesses. All businesses that are certified will be in a directory that is publicly available. And companies that are looking to meet the goal of spending 30% with minority and women-owned businesses will be going to this directory to look for minority and women-owned firms that do the work that they are trying to hire to do. And you will have, right now we have over 9,500 companies in the directory, and our team, our certification team, is working very hard to increase in that number in a very fast way. And I'll talk about that in a minute. So you will also, once you're certified, you also can get access to New York State, our Empire State Development Small Business loan programs that are geared towards helping you succeed in the way that you do business. And of course, once you're certified, you have that stamp of approval. You actually get a little decal from us saying that you are a minority women certified firm by the state. So you can put that in your email signature, put it in your flyers and in your window, if that makes sense, right? There's more information. I'm supposed to have a table set up, but Leon promised I should get a table, so I'll have a lot of resources at the table as well, so we can talk afterwards. Okay, what are the criteria? There are quite a few criteria. As you know, any program governed by the law that is benefiting from using taxpayers' money to help you grow your business has a lot of regulations. So we have a set of criteria that's set up by the law, which is the company has to be owned and operated and controlled independently by a minority person or women who owns 51% or more of the company. So if you don't own 100%, you could be the majority owner. Generally speaking, when we say majority owner is that you own 51% or more of the business. And you have to operate independently, meaning that you don't have to go to someone else to ask, how do you run your business? And what do you do with things in your business? So you have to operate the business by you and make sure that you have full control of the business, which we can talk about more later, and also the free business services, CMP and SBDC, they can provide advice to you on what that means and how do you go about going through the process, which I'll talk about later. So I will talk about this. So the 51% or more owner, we call that the person that we rely on to make the determination. They have to be a U.S. citizen or a green card holder. So this program is only available for businesses that are owned by a citizen or a green card holder. And what people may ask, who's a minority? So the law states who the minorities are, so African American, Asian, including subcontinent Asian, South Asians, and it includes Latino, Hispanic, from any of the Latin American countries, I said African American, and also Native Americans. These are the minority group that are considered in this law as eligible, and of course, women of all ethnic groups are eligible. Oh, I forgot to mention Alaskan. There might be people who are Native Alaskans living in New York State, so I should say that. I mentioned earlier that we need person who owns the business that we rely on to make the determination to run the operation and control the business. Meaning that you need to have the competence in the industry for which you operate. What does that mean? That means if, let's say you are a graphics designer, the business is graphic design. So you, the owner, have to have experience, working experience, and knowledge in the graphic design business. You cannot say, oh, I just opened the business, I manage all the, I have an MBA, and I can just run the business, all aspects of the administrative part of the business. I can run the books, I can do marketing, but I don't do any graphic design because that's not my job. I hire people to do it. That will not be called industry competence. You have to have done it before, right? Because you can still hire people to do it, but if one of your workers call in sick one day and you have a project due, you need to be able to step in and do the job, right? And also you need to be able to see if your workers are doing it correctly, right? So that's what we mean by industry competency. Operational decision, time devoted, meaning that you have to make all the decisions about your business. You cannot say, oh, this please, how do I negotiate a contract? What pricing should I have? I'm going to ask someone who really knows how to do that. You have to know how to do that yourself, right? That's what we mean by operational decisions. Time devoted, same thing. If your business is operating from, let's say, 10 to 6 o'clock at Monday to Friday, you have to be there almost all the time. You cannot have a full-time job working for someone else and say, oh, I'm running this business too, right? So yeah, you have to be devoting the time that is necessary to run the business. Control, same thing, you have to control the whole business, the management of the business, and you have to be able to negotiate contracts on behalf of the business. You cannot say, oh, and you need to know how to, same example, graphic designer, right? You need to be able to negotiate what the pricing is. You cannot rely on someone else to do that. That's what we mean by these two aspects of the business. Independence. Independent means that you have run your business on your own and you're not relying on, let's say, one single customer. So for example, if I'm still in the graphics business, but my brother is actually an advertising person, so my brother's going to send me a customer. That's the only thing I get. That's the only time business I get. Way I get business, that is not independence, because if I piss off my brother and he decides that he's not going to send me a customer, what happened to my business, right? So independence is that independent running your business, and you don't have to go rely on someone else to tell you what to do, but you also need to be able to independently obtain business for your company. So there are sometimes you may have common relationships with other businesses, but if it's not an industry standard, then it could consider the lack of independence for your business. Other certification criteria. So many people say, oh, the state of Delaware has very good laws for corporations, so I incorporate my business there. And many businesses do incorporate in the state of Delaware. So you could be a state of Delaware company, but you can still come to New York State and get certification. How do you do that? You come to New York State, you go to New York State Department of State website and seek authority to do business in New York State. Now, you need to do this regardless if you're applying for certification or not. Every state, if you're not set up in that state, and you want to do business in that state, you have to get authority to do business in that state. Why? We want to collect taxes from you when the business makes money. That's the reason, okay? So make sure your company is, if you are set up as an LLC, S Corp, C Corp, limited partnership, you all have to, even if you're set up in New York State, you have to register with the Department of State. Now, some of you may be saying, no, well, I do business on my own. I don't have a company. I'm Jenny Low Graphics Design, and I use my own tax ID, and I report my business income on the Schedule C in the federal tax return. That's okay too. But you need to go to the county clerk's office and get a business certificate. That's just another way the government wants to know that you are doing business and they want you to pay taxes as respective to the business that you gain from your business, right? So There's another criteria that often people run into, but not too often, because our program is for small businesses, right? So the person whom we rely on to make the determination if you can be certified as a minority or women-owned business, or the people who collectively own up to 51% or more of the company, each of them cannot have a personal net worth of more than $15 million. Honestly, if you have $15 million, I don't know if you would need to leave this program to grow your business. So anyway, there's exemptions to the law. It's not like just adding up all your assets and saying what it is. There's exemption. Your business value of your business doesn't count, if your primary home doesn't count, and some of your retirement funds is exempt for $750,000. So this information there's a calculation that you can use, and there's a worksheet that you can use to provide that information. Small business requirement. Earlier I mentioned that this is a small business program. So any business that has more than 300 employees are not eligible. So a business that employs more than 300 employees are not considered a small business. This is a definition from the federal government. The Small Business Administration uses this definition as well. So we just use the same definition to make it, same information across the board. And you have to have been, by the time you apply for the certification, you have to be in business for 1 year or longer. And there are exceptions that can happen, which we can talk about that separately, but generally you need to be in business for 1 year. You must file 1 tax return. And you have to demonstrate that you have been actively conducting business in the state of New York. So what does that mean? Let's say you set up your business, say last year. You set it up in October, and you have been actively conducting business by the time you apply, because that means that you need to have some clients. That demonstrates that your business, people want to buy your service. Right? It is worth, you have a commercially useful function that people want to pay for your service or product, right? So that's what we call actively conducting business in New York State. And you have to have demonstrate that you are contributing to New York State's economy. What that really means is that you have to be able to demonstrate that you have paid some taxes to New York State. Your business has paid taxes to New York State. And we can talk about what that means and such. So the free advisory services folks can explain that to you as well, and I'm happy to share that with you later. And there are different kinds of applications. When you go online, and we encourage everyone to go online, because it would enable our team to be able to review your application much faster. Paper would be way too slow, so you don't want to wait forever for us to look at paperwork. Online is the way to go, and we can give you have information from the website as well. So again, I mentioned earlier who is considered the New York State division that runs the New York State MWBE program, but there are many jurisdictions, many different government levels of government entities also have the minority and women-owned business program, and we all have our own certification, our own criteria. We're not necessarily crazy just because we're governed by different sets of law. So, for example, if you're a New York City, if you want to get certified with New York City, you have to apply in the New York City's program. And why? Because New York City had their own law. It's called Local Law 1 that governs New York City's program. They're by and large about the same, but they're just slightly different because the legislators are different, they thought differently, they want the program run in a way that is more aligned with their jurisdiction's goal. So if you live in Nassau County, Nassau County has one. If you live in Suffolk County has one. And the federal government had theirs too, right? So there are many partners, but we all work together. So we're not adversarial at all with all these other certifying entities. We work together. So sometimes, one of the ways that we work together is two ways. The one-stop addendum. So we work with Port Authority of New York, New Jersey, and the New York City program, and also in Erie County, which is Buffalo. We also have one program. So we have what we call addendum program. Let's say you apply to us first. On the application, you can check off that you want us to send your information to Port Authority in New York, New Jersey, to New York City, or to Buffalo if you feel like doing business in Buffalo. So what that means is that if you're certified by us, we will send your information over to those boxes, the jurisdiction that you check off. What happens is that when they get the information from us, they will contact you. If they need more information, they'll contact you to ask for more information. So, pause to do a little bit of advertisement. We've been told that we're the most restricted program, New York State. So if you get certified by us, people keep saying that we get certified by the state, we can get really quickly certified by other jurisdictions. And I actually have one woman-owned business whom I met over time. She told me that, oh, I got certified by you. 2 weeks later, I got certified by the city. So it happens, and I'm not saying that it's a guarantee, so don't take this the wrong way. But things can happen, and if you are doing one application, you might as well check out others that you may have an opportunity to do business. You may not do business with them tomorrow, but you may do it someday, right? So that's one way. For all of these certifications, once you're certified with them, you can do business with their agencies of their project. So for example, if you're in New York, you're based in New York City, if you want to get certified with us, you should really get certified with the city as well, because the city agencies, Sandra, how many agencies does the city have? Many, right? So New York State has 97 agencies and authorities, but the city doesn't have that many. But still, if you get our certification, it's not likely that they will take our certification and enable you to use New York City's agencies and whatever agency that New York City requires. So you really should get both. It's advisable because it's not much more work than that. So then we also partner with other certifying entity where we would do what we call a fast track application. What that means is that you get certified by one of us, whoever it is. Then when you want to apply to one of the partners on the list, then you can just say, select an application called fast track. Now I want to make sure that people understand that fast track in this context does not mean your application will be reviewed quicker. All it means is that you can apply for it quicker because you select that application, you provide fewer information because you're supposed to include the information that you submitted to the agency that certified you first with the second entity. And you can only do this if you're applying to the second entity for the very first time. Right? So a little tricky, but to be honest with you, if you, let's say, has anybody been certified with New York City? No, okay. If someone was certified with New York City and they have not been certified with us, I would really encourage them to fill out a new application with us. And the reason I say that is because you have control over what information you submit, and you know what you submitted to us. And that complete application is much faster because we, New York State, now is the fastest turnaround agency. I'll talk about that in a minute. So these are the different applications. There's some commonly avoidable mistakes, and we all make mistakes sometimes. We think we did something and we didn't, right? So there are information as you're filling out the application for us. First of all, you gather all the information that you need to apply before you start an application. So you have everything ready and have everything ready electronically. And so mistakes that happen is that you forgot to submit a document, or you forgot to fill out some information in the box that we're looking for. Or you forgot to go get the document notarized. So you forgot to sign someplace where you're supposed to sign, right? So these are very common mistakes that can happen. And I'll talk about how you can avoid these kind of mistakes to begin with. The other mistake that happened is the last line, incomplete response or no response. So when we receive an application, our team will use them. They look through everything, and then they'll jot down all the information that is still missing or additional questions that they have based on the review of the document that you submitted. So we will send out one email with all the questions that they have. It could be 1, it could be 2, it could be 10, it could be any number. You will get an email from our team, and what happens is that sometimes people ignore us. They don't mean to ignore us intentionally. Our email, when we send it out, is generated from our application platform, and any system-generated email gets treated like a spam or junk mail by the recipient's email system. That happens a lot. So we are not able to overcome this technology hiccup, and that happens a lot. So we encourage people, after they apply, one, they use an email address that they check often. Don't use info as such and such, that email address basically like, we all probably have it, right? You have an email address that you use to do shopping and you can check it often. Lots of junk mail gets there. So use an email that you check often. And once you apply and submitted your application, I would say check your email, that email, but also check your spam and your junk mail, because that can happen. And so when we don't hear from you, we give you a total of 20 days to respond to our emails. If we don't hear from you, we consider that you have abandoned the application. So we would reject it. Right? So make sure that you check your email. And people will say, I said earlier, I bragged earlier that we are the fastest turnaround agency, right? So a little bit of history, we used to be horrible. It used to take us a year or 2 to get back to you. And it's the worst of all. But we have turned around. Since Governor Kathy Hochul became governor, she invested heavily into this division. We cleared the backlog in the fall of 2023. So when we clear the backlog, we promise we will get back to you in no later than 120 days. So now it's July 2025. We have never had a backlog since then. And our average response time is less than 90 days, a lot less than 90 days. Yes, there's still those that hit 120 days, but we also have a lot that half of our application is significantly less than 90 days. I've seen applications being completed and made a determination and approved, ranging from 6 hours to a few days to 2 weeks. So it happens, and we have a team that is very experienced and passionate about helping every applicant get certified. So that's the response time. So what happens when you submit your application and we review your application? What could happen, right? So a couple of things. Earlier I mentioned if we don't hear from you after we email you, 20 days after we email you, we will reject your application. There are other reasons for us to reject an application if there is certain documents that's required, even though you respond to us, but you are not able to produce certain documents that we need to see, then we will reject your application. What does that mean? That means we give you time to regroup, and you have a 90-day waiting period before you can apply again. Okay? That's called being rejected. The next outcome possible is we see that you're not going to be able to get certified because you're missing information or you're not meeting certain criteria. We will tell you, and you may consider withdrawing your application so that you can go back and again regroup until you can meet those criteria. If you withdraw, there's no waiting period. It's just whenever you can get the criteria, meet the criteria, you can apply again. Okay. Then, of course, I don't know why we put that in the middle. We should put it on the top, right? You get approved. And that's, you have 5 years. Your certification is for 5 years. And you have to renew it before the 5 years date is done. You get a letter. The letter tells you that you approve as of today. You need to make sure you mark your calendar. 90 days before the expiration date, you can submit an application for renewal. And the most unpleasant outcome is denial, meaning that we look through your application, we did everything we can based on the documentation that you submit. You just are not eligible. You do not meet all the criteria for the certification. So you would be denied, and then you will get a letter explaining to you why your application is being denied. And if your application is denied, you have a 2-year waiting period before you can apply again. Right? And so I'm going to, I see a signal to stop. But this is what I wanted to talk to you about. This is the last thing, which is CMP and Small Business Development Center. I have information, I have a flyer on this that you guys can look at the QR codes. So they are the free services that we've been collaborating with over the last year. What happens is that when you go to them, they actually help you go through the application. They help to make sure that you have everything you need before you go online to start applying. They stay with you and guide you through the whole process. So if, let's say we send you an email and say, hey, we need additional information X, Y, Z, they can help you. Make sure that you're providing the information that we're looking for. They know what it takes to get certified. Why? Because we train them. They have gone through 2 days, total of 8-hour training, right? Janice and Judy. they have gone through the training with our team. So we are really doing everything we can to help people get certified. The last slide is probably just questions, but we'll do questions and answers now.
I think we're good for questions.
Okay.
Before questions, let me show you some survey results.
Oh, wow, okay, you go ahead.
So that is about demographic data about the small business who are attending tonight's event. I believe that's the other one, the survey. Yes. So that's about who are running their own small business. So 80% is doing business. But just let you know, the QR code is still valid. If you haven't done so, please do so, because that really shapes our future, shapes how we help you. 如果大家还没有填这个问卷呢，也麻烦大家等会儿看到 QR code， 拿出您手机扫描一下，帮助我们填写。Okay, the next question. Jump back. Okay, so that's about your size of your business. Some are solo entrepreneurs, some are 2 to 5, and we still have some from 6 to 10. Up next. And that's about where they're from. 那我们看到今天有很多人是从other boroughs, not exactly in Flushing. Actually, none of people from Flushing. It's true. But that's great. We are helping people from all 5 boroughs. Okay, so let's stop here, and now we welcome questions related to MWBE Certification. 你也可以用中文提供，没有关系。提问没有关系，大家可以举手。
Thank you. 我是 Chinese 这边，说中文吗？
可以，可以。
OK， 我们是一家食品企业，是工厂。首先，我刚刚听了您这边讲的这个内容，对我受益匪浅，学习很多。但是我想问的一个问题就是，我们工厂是刚刚才开始，所以说我们在想，因为我们是中国过来，我们做的这个食品是亚洲味的， 所以说我们在想，就是说我们做食品工厂，我们会申请一些license 资质，以及帮助我们周边的，因为我们在 Lower City 这边，所以说我们也会想，就是在这个街道这边，我们看，比如说我们环保、停车等等这些我们的一些 license 是不是可以，我们从哪里可以渠道去申请这些，帮助我们去改善我们的就业的环境和我们的安全。谢谢。
我先用英文讲一次。So this gentleman said he has a new, relatively new manufacturing facility in Long Island City. So he is asking, how do we get licensed for certain things in terms of parking, environment, environmental concerns, and such. So I'm going to use Chinese to answer the question, and I think it's supposed to translate into English as well in this screen. So for those who prefer to listen to see the answer in English, it will be in English on the screen. So 这位先生这样的，要是你是刚刚起业的话，我们现在刚才讲的就是在座有两个可以是免费商业询问的机构，他们是非牟利的，是免费的。他们每一个叫做小型商业发展中心，另外就是人力中心，他们都在后面。你最好就是跟他们约一个时间，跟他们谈一下你的工厂是做些什么的，还有你的环境是怎么样，需要申请什么样的证的允许证的，他们都可以帮你的。OK， 他们就是在后面，他们也有会讲中文的辅导员。
The app doesn't translate well. Maybe just in brief language, you should consult all the tabling resources in the back. So schedule a one-on-one appointment.
Yes. So the Small Business Development Center and CMP, they are both free business advisory service centers. And free is the key word, right? You don't really need to pay people unless you have a very specialized situation. So I would always encourage people to start with the free services, and they have one-on-one counselors who can help you decipher what is the best way to move forward, what licenses you may need for the factory, and or any environment issues in your neighborhood. They will know the rules and regulations as well.
Questions? 还有问题吗？
Hello, can we get the PowerPoint presentation sent to us? Because there's a lot of information that I can look over again, and like, okay, now I understand this part. I can take the notes.
Sure, we can do that as long as you provide your email address to, if they have it. Happy to do that for those who also want this information. It would be helpful if you, what do you want them to do?
Just provide your email.
Provide an email. Actually, later on, I suppose at the table, I have a sign-up sheet too, so you can
your
provide
email
email
is
there.
sent.
You will get information from me, from our division. You will get updates from us, and that will be the most direct way for you to get the presentation from us.
Yeah. Also, we have a volunteer videography for recording the entire event. So we will put up in the YouTube channel. So please make sure stay tuned with GCC. And also don't forget to sign up, scan the QR codes, fill out the survey, and leave your email. Okay, we are open for next question.
I have a quick question about the certification. Let's say this business has been operating for years, but it's never been filed under like a business entity. You've been just doing it yourself and filing 1099s. How would you have to set up the business entity first, wait for a year, and then apply for the certification, or could you use previous kind of years of tax return that you testified that these are, the taxes that paid for this consulting service?
That's a really great question. question because that happens a lot. People do business, they've been doing something but not in a way that may make them eligible for certification. So this brings up a good point because I kept saying that you have to be in business for 1 year or longer, right? That is true. If you have experience, you have the industry competence experience in running the same business, you can get a waiver from the 1 year business requirement. That's one. But along with what you need to be able to demonstrate is you still have to demonstrate that you have been actively conducting business in the States. It could be under, let's say you were doing it as a, I'm just making this up for a conversation. Let's say you were doing it as a sole proprietor under your name with your personal tax return. Now you got advice from your accountant and or your lawyer say you should set up as an LLC, right? And you go ahead and you set it up. So you set it up 2 days ago, right? But you've been doing the business for a long time under yourself, right? That can be waived as a 1 year business requirement, but you still have to demonstrate that you have been actively conducting business in your state. And you need to be able to demonstrate that you have made a contribution to New York State's economy, right? How can you do that in your circumstances, right? So what you need to do is, let's say you set up your LLC, and this is the middle of the year, July, right? You're not filing your tax returns under the LLC just yet, but you expect to generate revenue through the end of the year, and let's say you use a calendar year for your business. So meaning that by when 12/31/25 comes, you will have you will file a tax return for whatever the month that you're getting business, right? So you would expect to have revenue, and you may have some income that requires you to file tax, pay for taxes. What you can do if you really want to get going and get certified, apply for the certification, is that you can pay estimated taxes ahead of time, right? Because you're expecting to be able to generate revenue for the next few months, right? So that's a way to do that. We can talk more about that in the team. I can talk to you about that, or the service provider in more detail. But that's generally how you can apply for certification, even if your business just got set up a few years ago. Right? Does that help? Yeah. Okay.
But the act doesn't quite help.
Oh no,
Unfortunately.
you want to translate or you want me to say?
I think we need to leave one more question.
Oh, okay.
More time for the participant to ask. But at least we have the recording. Don't worry. 不好意思，我们的这个翻译不是很有效，但是我们会有这个视频回放，大家记得要扫2维码，然后你可以收到我们的 YouTube 的 link。好，大家还有 I think we're okay for one last question. Okay, comes my team.
I know this is only for small businesses, so it's for profit. But when a non-profit organization like us, when we go asking for grant, they always asking us, are you MWBE organization or are you MWBE? If we're not eligible as non-profit to apply for this, what do they mean? Are you MWBE? Does that mean if we hire someone like a freelancer, vendor, that doing things for us, they are NW. Well, actually, we are NWB. We are minority and a woman, right? But our organization is non-profit, so it's not eligible for this thing. But for the grant, when they're asking for NWBE, what do they mean?
So I don't know the specific situation where you were asked that question as a nonprofit. So I have been in the nonprofit world for a long time too, and I don't know what that is, to be honest with you, because nonprofit organization, what it is, when I talk about nonprofit organization, I mean those who are 501c3 designated by the IRS. You don't pay taxes. You actually don't even pay sales tax if you buy stuff, right, as an organization. So our program and other MWBE certification program are only for for-profit business. So I don't know who asked which entity that you apply for grant got asked that question, so I don't have an answer for that. But I just want to let everyone know, when we talk about in general, MWBE or minority women-owned businesses, we are only talking about for-profit businesses.
Okay, I think that is quite clear. Right, yeah, because I'm curious also. I do see that question in the application form.
Yeah, we'd love to learn more about that, so I can learn too, but I have not been, but I don't write grants applications.
Okay, so I think it's good time for us to grab some light refreshments on the side that's sponsored by Global Federation of Chinese Businesswomen. Thank you for your generosity. While you're grabbing the snacks, I'm inviting the second presenter, Taiwan Queen from the Asian American Federation, to come to the stage. Feel free to grab a light. Yes, again.